Hello, it's Mrs. K again. Get your composition notebooks and pencils ready for another TAHN. Dimensional analysis. Okay, let's take an example. You want to answer the question, who is running faster the 100 meter, Jordan the runner or Sam the cheetah? Okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to measure the speed. For Jordan the runner, you measure whatever number you have, meter per second. Unfortunately, you're only able to measure miles per hour for the cheetah. So, when we encounter different units doing measurements, we need to convert these units. That's where dimensional analysis comes into play. When we talk about dimensional analysis, the first thing to learn is equivalence statements. If you look at this, you want to know how many meters are in a mile, or how many miles are in a meter, or how many seconds are in an hour. So let's talk about equivalence statements. What is an equivalence statement? For example, you have this ruler, the bottom part is in inches and the top part in centimeters. So the bottom part is in standard or US system and the top part is in the metric system. So it would be perfect, right, if you knew exactly how many centimeters are in an inch, or how many inches are in that many centimeters. Okay. For definition, an equivalent statement is two quantities separated by an equal sign that are equal to each other but have different units. Let's take an example. 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. So makes sense, right? So you know how many inches are in a foot, and then you can convert between inches and feet. But there are also other kind of equivalence statements. You could have an equivalence between how many players are in a team. So one team equals 7 players. That's just for a specific team. You could also have teams with more than 7 players. Okay. Equivalence statements can be constructed 4 different ways. So the first way would be using numbers that you count. Let's look at the chicken and egg thing. So 1 dozen eggs equals 12 eggs, right? Dozen equals 12. So you know 1 dozen eggs equals 12 eggs. Let's look at the pair of red shoes. So 1 pair of shoes equals 2 shoes. And notice that each of the numbers have units attached. So eggs and shoes, yes, they're units. Okay. The second way equivalent statements can be constructed is using numbers within the same measurement system. Remember far back, standard system and metric system, standard or US system, okay? So you could have, for example, the standard system. Within the standard system, you could figure out how many feet are in a mile, or within the metric system, how many meters are in a kilometer. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward. Okay, the third way how to construct equivalent statements is using numbers in different measurement systems. So you're going to compare the metric system to the standard and standard to the metric. Okay, if you convert metric to standard, for example, you could figure out like 1 kilogram equals 2.21 pounds, okay? Or you could also do standard to metric. Another example, 0.2248 pounds equals 1 Newton. So you can make equivalent statements between different measurement systems. Okay, the fourth way to construct these statements is numbers that are specific to a situation. Okay, let's look at these examples. It's kind of similar to the one, how many players are in one team, right? So in one lab group, there are 3 students, and that is just specific for a particular lab. You could have labs that have only 2 students. So, but that's also an equivalent statement. And notice I can just switch. So I can say 3 students equal 1 lab group, or 1 lab group equals 3 students. Seems obvious, yeah. Okay, Now you could also, like if you have a map, say 1 inch on your map equals 50 miles, right? Or like for this photograph, you could say 1 meter equals 3.45 centimeters. If you know that for this treasure map, you could figure out easily how to get to the treasure. Okay. Now, design 4 equivalent statements, one for each of the 4 types just discussed. Write these in your composition notebook, stop the video, and just figure 4 different equivalent statements. Go back, look at your notes. Okay. After you're done with your 4 statements, in class, you will receive a hard copy of this document on the right. It's called the Handy Dandy Equivalent Statements. Your handy dandy equivalent statements will follow you around for the rest of the year. It has many scientifically important equivalent statements, so you do not have to make up all the statements. You will also find a link to make yourself a digital copy on Schoology in the Working with Numbers folder. A hard copy that you get, you will glue into your composition notebook towards the back, so you can always access it easily. Okay, so let's look at the handy dandy sheet. You will find some types of equivalence statements that we just talked about. For example, you might find 1 pound equals 4.448 Newton, or 1 milliliter equals 1 centimeter cubed, or 1 inch equals 2.540 centimeters. So just look at your handy dandy sheet and make yourself familiar with it. However, you will also see that there are those statements that are more than 2 equal values. Okay, so one example would be 1 mile per hour equals 1.467 feet per second, equals 0.4470 meter per second, or equals 1609 kilometers per hour. Okay, let's see. How many equivalent statements, single equivalent statements, can you make out of these equations? Or this equation. Okay. Let's see. So I think you should be able to get at least 6. Okay, try to find and combine all those. So any 2 of the values in this equation can be matched together to make an equivalent statement. The first example would be 1 mile per hour equals 0.447 meter per second. And there are many more. So look at them, write them down, and let's see. I'm going to put some more up, whether those will fit. And hopefully we got all of them. Okay, compare them to yours. Did we catch all of them? Okay. So now you know everything there is to know about equivalent statements, and you're ready for the next video.